to Entrepreneurship 101. Entrepreneurship 101 is created to empower entrepreneurs all over the world. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy to help entrepreneurs to get unstuck so that they can launch and grow and be successful in their own business. None other than Miss Liz
Yes,
Wolfe.
thank you so much.
Welcome, Miss Liz on Entrepreneurship 101. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Absolutely. My name is Liz Wolfe, and I live on New York City in the West 140, so uptown, almost in the country. And I have been living here for most of my adult life, and I am a business coach living here in New York City with my husband. We have a business together. And what I like to do is help new entrepreneurs. It's lucky we're on Entrepreneurship 101. I like to help new entrepreneurs to get their business started. And a lot of people feel stuck. They don't know how to get started. So we work together and I help you to do that.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Liz. In your work, what are the three most common root causes to keep the talented entrepreneur with a good idea perpetually stuck with just lunch or growth?
What are the things that keep them
Unstuck.
stuck?
Yes.
Okay. Well, those things are, first of all, not knowing what to work on, not knowing what what do I do? I don't know how to do it. So that is a
Yes.
big thing that gets people stuck. And you can't work on a plan if you don't have a plan. So
Yes.
help people to create a strategic plan to figure out what they need to do. I've run into this quite a bit. People will have an idea and the brain can visualize something being done and feeling like you need to be working on that thing. I recently spoke with a woman who is wants to start a catering business and she doesn't have money to do this part, but she wants to have a food truck. And so she's like, I don't know, how do I get money for the food truck? And I'm thinking to myself, you get clients with your catering business and you make money first. So our brains can get very confused about what to focus on first. And so if you don't know, if you don't have a strategic plan, you will definitely feel stuck. And the other thing I think that's very common that has people feel stuck is thinking that that they need certain traits and capabilities and feel frustrated in their own working style. And that's why I have the quiz that I have on my website, the Liz Wolfe Coaching. You can see the picture of it there. Are you wired for business success? Take the quiz to find out. You need to know what your working style is. So that's what this quiz tells you. What's your working style? What's your CEO personality? And once you know that, you can get clear as to why you feel stuck around not being as effective as you'd like to be.
Interesting. Miss Liz, and empowering too. Is the primary blocker usually a fear of failure, a fear of success, or a fear of visibility and judgment? How does the strategy for overcoming it differ?
Well, I would say that sometimes there may be some incentive to stay stuck because when you talk about a fear of failure or a fear of success, there's no easier way to avoid those fears than to not do anything. And so if you feeling stuck, then you can focus all your energy on saying, well, I didn't know what to do or I was stuck, rather than doing something. You could do anything, better than nothing. And so when we talk about fear of failure or fear of success, what we're really saying is we don't want to wander into an experience that is unfamiliar to us and that feels bad and that could be unsustainable. And so that's one another way that we feel we remain stuck is just by staying in place.
Well, how do you help, Miss Lees, an entrepreneur diagnose whether they're stuck in endless planning or in an impossible cycle of refinement? And what is the first step out of each trap?
Well, that's one of the things that the quiz will help you to do if you take it, because different things keep different types of people stuck. So, for instance, there's a I've there are four: chief enthusiasm officer, chief empowerment officer, chief expert officer, and chief excellence officer. And for example, the chief expert officer thinks that more research is going to help them to solve their problem, even though they've already done plenty of research. So that endless planning comes about because we think if I knew the right plan, then I would be able to take accurate steps forward. So a chief expert officer will spend a lot of time focused on that creating of the plan. Don't get me wrong, I want everybody to have a plan. I just want everybody to know that there's very likely to be numerous options that could work. And so just there really is no one right way to get something done. So planning and not implementing is a very common function because people think, "Oh, I really need to have it all figured out." Sometimes that's what I call solving a future problem, meaning I want to know how I'm going to solve a problem that I might have in the future. And that is solving a future problem. But the problem with that problem is that it's
Hmm.
in the future. And there's no way to solve a problem you don't actually have right now.
Let's talk about on mindset and internal blocks, Miss Lees. Many get stuck because they still see themselves as a hobbyist, employee, or aspiring founder. What is practices help solidify the core identity of I am a CEO or I am the owner of this business?
Yeah, you're discussing something that a lot of people describe as imposter syndrome, where you think, well, who am I? Who am I? I don't really have that much experience. I don't know that much, or I need to get certified. There's all these ways in which you think you have to get more and more certified, or more educated, etc. And there's a way in which we minimize what our qualifications are or the qualifications that we have. Um, so we can pretty easily convince ourselves that we're not going to be successful, or who's going to want what we want. The best way to confront any kind of mindset issue is to get into action. I always like to say that entrepreneurship is the best personal development workshop that you could ever take. Like, bar none. Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, anybody that you could take, because if you're in action, you will be testing yourself every day to stretch those comfort zone boundaries.
What was the most or more useful framework than success versus failure, Ms. Lees, for entrepreneurs or entrepreneur to adapt, especially in early vulnerable stages?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, there's always going to be somebody who's more successful than you are, and there's always somebody that's going to be less successful than you are. So the number one thing that we do is we compare ourselves to other people, and we say, why aren't I that wealthy, or why aren't I that successful, or why don't I have more people on my list, or why don't I have more customers, or whatever it is. Look at so and so. And So that's a very degrading way to be thinking, is to be comparing yourself to other people. And that will definitely keep you in a lack mindset for sure. Um, can you repeat the question? Because I want to make sure I'm answering it.
Yes, definitely. What was the useful framework
Hmm.
then success versus failure for an
Right.
entrepreneur to adopt?
Okay. So the framework is is to go away from thinking that success is the criteria, or that there's even a way for you to uh, judge your success. Again, someone's always going to be more successful than you, and someone's always going to be less. I like to think of it more like in abundance mindset and a scarcity mindset. So, abundance, the reason for that is because success is a very, I would use the word male energy, like, gonna be successful, woo, let's go, right? I don't mean men. I mean, just, when you think about a male energy, that, which, commonly,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Um, More of a pursuing, and abundance is different for everybody, depending on what it is that you value. So success can look a lot of different ways based on what other people value, but I'm very curious to know what you value, what you as the entrepreneur value. And if you have what you value, and I don't mean physical objects, but those could certainly be physical objects. If you have what you value, then you will experience abundance. And fear is a scarcity based mentality. And so if you can begin to identify those and recognize those fears as an abundance, or as a lack of abundance or a scarcity, then you can see that it's abundance thinking that is going to bring you closer to what you want.
Speaking of abundant, Miss Lee's, abundant business implies a mindset shift from
Mhm.
scarcity. What does abundant action look like on Tuesday morning compared to scarcity driven action?
Okay. Well, for one thing, it's a so I have a definition of abundance, and the definition of abundance is there's plenty for everyone, including me. Because often we think there's plenty for everybody except me, but there's plenty for everyone, including me. And when I approach it, in other words, there's plenty of clients for everyone, there's plenty of money for everyone. I don't really believe in competition because there's literally 8 billion people on this planet, and there's plenty of people that are there to be my clients, and plenty for other people as well. So when you start with that framework of there's plenty for everyone, including me, what it does is it gives you more trust in the process. It gives you more trust in the universe. It gives you more trust in your actions, that the actions you're taking slowly build on each other and begin to create results. And anytime you focus on lack of any kind, you will feel you'll feel fear, you'll feel scarcity. It's not like a really a magic wand where you could say, well, just think positive thoughts. Everybody else thinks positive thoughts. Okay, it's really not. I mean, sure, think positive thoughts, but of all the scenarios that are possible, each and every one has equal validity, not just the ones where it's going to be a crashing mess, but the ones where it's going to be a soaring success as well.
What is the most limiting story you hear stock entrepreneurs tell themselves? And what is the direct challenging question you ask to dismantle it?
Hmm. Okay. The most limiting story. It's a good question. I think I want to say that the one that I hear a lot is alluding to what I just was referring to a moment ago, which is that a lack of belief in that there is plenty for everyone, including me. So I like to challenge people when they say, for instance, oh, I reached out and they didn't respond. They're not interested. And I was like, I always say, well, how do you know? Is that true? That's a really, really helpful question to ask yourself. Is it true? And then if you say, well, yeah, it's true, and then you can say, how do you know it's true? This is actually something, there's a woman called Byron Katie. This is something that I've borrowed from what she does. She does much deeper work about this. I think she's still alive, but I'm not sure. But she has a really fabulous book called Loving What Is. But it's a really, so many of what what drives our actions. What drives our actions are our thoughts, but thoughts are really beliefs. Thoughts are interpretations, conversations, evaluations of what's going on. And all of that is driven by your belief system. So if but we act like these beliefs are true. We say, that's the truth. There aren't enough clients. That's the truth. And that's not the truth because some people have plenty of clients. So to ask yourself, is that true? And then how do you know that it's true? Helps you to be able to embrace a different point of view because a belief is just a thought and a thought can be changed.
Minimum viable launch. Miss Liz, for someone overwhelmed by launching the perfect bull or full business, how do you help them define the absolute smallest, fastest version they can release to the world to build momentum?
Well, if you're asking what's the fastest way to earn money, which I think is
Yes.
basically what we're saying.
That's all the sum up.
All right, right.
To earn millions.
To earn millions or even tens. Some people just
Yes.
would like to make $50 with their first client. Uh,
Yes.
so you do want to ask yourself the question, what's the fastest path to cash? What's the fastest path to cash? So what actions can I take that are most likely? So for instance, this woman that I was referring to earlier that has the catering business, who's jumping to buying a food truck when she hasn't even got enough clients. And she said, what should I do? How should I start? And I said, uh, speak to as many people as you can, directly contact them, say, I am doing catering this holiday season. Would you like some cookies? Would you like me to make a meal for you? What, et cetera, et cetera. So the fastest way to make anything happen, any kind of sales happen, is to make direct contact with people. We are so enamored with social media. We're so enamored with texting each other, WhatsApping, videos, reels, and all that. Um, if you really want to make some cash, you get on the phone, you call people, and you talk to people. You go to networking events, etc. So if you're overwhelmed by not knowing what to do next, you ask yourself, what action could I take that I know that if I took it would get me faster path to cash? It's not hint. It's not posting on social media 5 times a day. It's you know that's I'm not saying that's not going to generate anything, but that's not your fastest path to cash. Or if it's something like want to launch an online training, okay, what is the minimal viable product that you need to get that product available to people? You don't need to buy Thinkific or Teachable or anything like that. You could just use Google Drive. You could do Zoom recordings. Like you could record it on your phone, for crying out loud. Like there's so
Yes.
many ways that we make it harder for ourselves because we've up to the ante, and it's not a minimal viable product. It's like the perfect viable product when that just doesn't exist.
Yes, indeed. And Miss Liz, how do you help an entrepreneur reconnect with the big, inspiring why when they are buried in a daily grind? How does the connection instantly unstick them?
Well, a lot of people don't have a why to begin with. I think that's the reason that the first thing that I do is I help people to define what their vision are. That's the first step to anything, is having a clear vision. And um, well, here's the thing about entrepreneurship. A lot of it isn't doing the work you really want to do. Like yesterday, I don't think I spoke to any clients all day. All I did was clear off my desk. I invoicing to do and just 16 other things, right? So it's so easy to get caught up in the minutia of the everyday today. Uh, I would ask yourself how much of the time that you're spending is on the purpose of what your business is. I'll even repeat to say that if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, or if you don't have a good reason for doing it, it doesn't have to be like so magnificent or anything. It can just be, I like helping people. It can be, I love to cook and I want to share my cooking with people. The woman that does the catering. So, I don't want to oversell how a big vision, like every day I'm supposed to get up inspired. But if you never feel inspired by your vision because you don't see those results, or you're not able to reach the people you want to reach or share with them your product, then you're gonna lose sight of that, and then you'll get more stuck.
Well, Miss Lisa, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season. And Mob Book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in third season. And Mob Food 101 in sixth season this December. Geography 101, Love Letters, Movie 101, Review Music 101, in its fourth season, Science 101, Sex 101, second season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health 101, Law 101, Bible Verses 101, and of course, Entrepreneurship 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Ms. Liz, even entrepreneurs successfully uses your methods to get unstuck and build a abundant business. What kind of leader or person do you become in the process?
Everybody is a leader in their own way. They're just either expressing it or not expressing it. I think it's almost a guarantee that if you take action on what you say you want, you follow through, and you have some consistency, that you will gain some momentum. And that, just to acknowledge that I'm not here to say that it's all about, accountability and go out there and do it, just do it, just do it, just do it. There's a lot of things that will slow you down. That's the role that I have as a coach. I help people to figure out why they are stuck so that they can move forward. But don't underestimate the small wins that you have, because you will have an opportunity to see those grow and build one on the other.
Yes, and thank you, Ms. Liz, for empowering us. Thank you so much for sharing the knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your projects, or anything you want to promote on Entrepreneurship 101?
Everybody should take my quiz. You should go on to lizwolfcoaching.com, WOLFE coaching.com, and you should take my quiz, and that will get you more information and get you on your way.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Liz Wolfe because if you support her for more and more, entrepreneurs will thrive. So, Miss Liz, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More people, see you soon.